The great Australian adventure. It's no doubt different for each of us, but an antidote to the pace and pressure of our modern lives is out there for all of us.
For Jason, Australia was a hell of a long paddle, but for most of us, Australia is the country of the long drive. And it was certainly that for me. My first journey of discovery was the 59 Falcon wagon, surfboard on the roof, mattress in the back, and off up the coast. If you're Australian and you haven't done the long drive, it's almost like something's missing. It's like a pie without sauce or flake without chips. It's like scrambled eggs without the toasted slice of white beneath. It's a rite of passage.
And so, in that same great spirit of Australian adventure, I've mapped out a journey for myself from the swells of Sydney Harbour to the very summit of Australia itself, Mount Kosciuszko. At just under 500 k's in this day and age, it's the kind of road trip that could be knocked off in a day's solid driving. But there was a time when our country was besieged by great tyrannies of distance, a time when it fell to man and machine to define us as a nation. A golden age of adventure, brought about by the advent of the aeroplane.
There's no bigger name in Australian aviation than Sir Charles Kingsford Smith. He was awarded the Military Cross after being shot in the skies in the First World War. He was a Hollywood stunt pilot. He was the first to do the trans-Pacific crossing between the US and Australia. He was truly an Australian pioneer, but he was a daredevil of the sorts, but a calculated one. I mean, this guy was a real adventurer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
These days, if you're out to truly taste the exhilaration of flight, Kingsford Smith style, go no further than sky racer and aerobatics pilot Chris Clarke and his 1943 Boeing Stearman.
There's a level of freedom with flying that you just can't describe to someone who hasn't done it. Everything relies on you when you're out here. Just us and the element.
But to truly understand the Kingsford Smith legend, these South Coast skies can tell quite the yarn.
In 1933, Smithy decided to make the first commercial flight between Australia and New Zealand in his Fokker triplane, the Southern Cross. The plane was loaded to such an extent with crew, passengers, fuel, that he needed a runway long enough so that the plane could get into the air. And that runway is just down there.
In 1933, Sydney's mascot airfield was yet to be completed. So Smithy's search for a strip of terra firma up to the job led him to Shoalhaven Head's 7 Mile Beach. Using all his skills as an airman, he coaxed the Southern Cross gingerly down onto the beach to the sound of only his engines and the wind through his wings.
I've got to admit there was a nervous moment, and that was when we came in low. You kind of shut down the engines a bit to pull off the speed, and I look at a beach. And a beach is not normally the kind of thing that you want to land on. I know Smithy did it. He was a barnstormer, you see. But it was really, really very smooth.
On that historic day, 7 Mile Beach was buzzing with thousands of locals, all keen to get a look at Smithy's legendary Southern Cross take to the skies. On the beach that morning was 5-year-old farm boy Colin Sharp.
He took off at 5 to 3 in the morning because he needed to get to New Plymouth in daylight.
How did he manage to see to take off?
because there were flares and some cars were parked on the beach.
Oh, so the cars had their headlights on?
They had the headlights on. And of course on his starboard side, the white water was, and that was a great guide for him. And the actual flight took 14 hours and 10 minutes.
Wow. And 82 years later, Smithy's heroic feet still burn bright.
We saw the Southern Cross and we followed his other flights, and the fact that it was Smithy. He was a real legend in his time.
Next, your chance to win the ultimate adventure kit worth $100,000.